4, 3.
Welcome to Conversations on Authenticity. I'm Dr. Walter Bro.
I'm Andrea Reese.
And today we'd like to talk to you about the inauthentic self, and maybe some of the, rationales for being inauthentic. Reese, I heard that you're not a fan of inauthenticity. You want to tell me about that?
I'm not at all. I believe that inauthenticity is a part of a lot of the human condition, but it is in no way can being authentic all the time, or that embracing inauthenticity.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way anybody can really experience the freedom of life, the full potential of themselves, or true happiness in any extent. So I think it's extremely, caging,
confining. I wonder if being unhappy, being unaware, being kind of caged in can be an authentic choice for someone. What do you think about that?
It could be a choice, but you're still operating in inauthenticity. I've chosen to be inauthentic. But choosing to be inauthentic is closer to
Mm-hmm.
being authentic. But once you choose it, I feel like you're willingly putting yourself in prison.
Okay. Because part of what the authentic self for me is like the author. You know, is this my choice? Is this my will? Is this my awareness? Versus, am I doing this for someone else, or someone else's will, someone else's awareness, someone else's vision? So when I think about the inauthentic self, I think people are often inauthentic. I think like when we're at work, we're inauthentic. Sometimes when we're in our personal relationships, we're inauthentic, especially when we're trying to measure how real or how authentic to be with people. What do you think about that?
Well, I think if one is authentic,
Mm-hmm.
and they know the people that we're talking about last time, we were talking about the groups and the families and all that.
Right.
They know that the person that they're dealing with in that moment won't know how to receive their authentic self.
Right.
We talked about actors and portraying a role and being able to connect with that role. So you're being your authentic self in that role, but it's a role that is a symbol to the other person or to other people. So taking on that role as your authentic self will help you buffer the authentic you than the people that are used to receiving only something that's inauthentic.
Okay. So by choosing the words we speak and choosing how much we emote or express ourselves, we can still have the same spirit or same intention, but just choose how we deliver it differently and still be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. That's good. Another thing we talked about, you touched on the acting piece. And I hear from one of my supervisees, Courtney Loving, all the time, that acting is really about being more authentic, bringing about the real self in acting. And that was something that's interesting to me, but you explained it very well earlier. What are your thoughts about the authentic side of being an actor?
The authentic side of being an actor, I believe, is the ability to connect, to be genuine, and to find parallels with your characters. If you are unable to find any type of parallel, any type of understanding of a character, then it's very difficult for you to be able to authentically act as that character. And that translates on film and everywhere else. So in order to be an authentic actor, which is kind of like what I was saying about just authenticity in general with people, is finding that connection and being able to maximize that in your own way. In any type of movie or any type of film, there's no way to plan every action detail down to the T.
Right.
There's words and there's maybe a side written in the script, but the whole portrayal of that character has to originate from the actor, and being able to find those parallels and what truly matches and what truly fits is part of connecting with our authentic self and the authentic self of the person that they're portraying.
Okay. And it sounds almost like finding out what truly fits is also weighing it against what is valuing and what is safe in that moment for a person. That's interesting. I think a lot of what I take from the actor as far as people kind of navigating life at different moments is that we're all kind of on stage and we're all working from a script per se. People give you a script of who they are and how they expect you to act in their life, and you do the same for other people. So at some level, we're making choices to be intentionally invested in relationships and also invested in who we are at some level. What do you think about that piece of being invested in relationships at the same time while we're invested in our own interests?
I think I've talked before about, you know, level of self-actualization, being able to match it with your level of authenticity. And I think that when interacting with other people, being intentional is very, very important if you've reached that level of self-actualization to where you're able to be authentic. Because at any point, I know how to interact with you. I know how to get something across to you, but I'm intentional because at this point I can either teach, I can either help bring you to another level of self-actualization and authenticity. I can model that for you. You know what I'm saying? It's all types of things that I can do, or I can choose to just be selfish.
Right.
So the fact that we have that choice and we make that decision, that shows that we have, you know, that freedom to be authentic.
Yeah. It almost sounds like that might be a benefit for some people. You know, when you think about being selfish, that might be a reason to be inauthentic, to be selfish. Maybe at some level it's for safety, or maybe I get more value or self-esteem by being selfish in that moment or not being authentic, sharing myself. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, when you were talking, I was thinking about, you know, trusting the unknown. And you know, for some people that's faith. If I have no trust of anything outside of what I can control, there's a less likelihood that I'm going to want to be authentic. I'm going to want to be whatever is necessary in the moment, and selfishly so that I can get my needs met. I can get what I want. I can get, you know, something that I feel that I need, and it's my motivations for me.
Right.
So you see what I'm saying? So I can manipulate the atmosphere, but it's with a selfish intention because I have no faith in any other person. I have no faith in the unknown. Nothing outside of me. I don't trust it.
Right.
So
that's amazing. So total faith in the ego, total faith in self, with no faith really in relationship, other, divine, God. Wow. Sounds almost like a real lonely place to be. Wow. So part of I think us engaging in these conversations is to kind of help people understand that they might be in a lonely place being authentic. They might struggle with being more authentic, sharing more of themselves, being more vulnerable. And at some level, it's really normal to struggle with these things.
But you know, I also think that that's the beauty of it, because when you're in that lonely place, you desire to bring more people there and bring people there that are not operating in authenticity.
Right.
I want to bring you in, and let's include everyone in this freedom, as opposed to when I'm afraid and when I'm lonely, I kind of want to just keep to myself because I don't know that anybody can come outside of it.
Right.
Because this fear has paralyzed me.
But no, I mean, you're right, because when you have that fear, you have that experience, there is a piece of yourself that wants to connect, that wants to reach out. A call for help usually, for greater intimacy or realness and connection with people. And at some level, you then have to make that choice. It's a very personal, internal choice of how real or how authentic one it will be in order to get that connection or that relationship. It's a beautiful plan, I think. Definitely. So let's just talk a little bit more about some of the benefits of being inauthentic.
Okay. Shoot.
Well, when we were talking earlier, we talked about people being selfish, but we also talked about how it can hide people and how sometimes in hiding from yourself, you often have more time to work on who you really are. You have more time to be critical in who you want to present yourself to be, and also be able to deal with some of the consequences or rewards of presenting that authentic self. Another benefit, I think, of being inauthentic is you have an opportunity to see another side of yourself that you may not own or recognize, and kind of think about the distance between the real self and then this authentic self, or I should say inauthentic self you're presenting to people. And that kind of self-awareness can be great for growth. Are there any other benefits you can think of?
As you said that, I guess I kind of reflect on some of my own inauthentic moments, you know. And when I was younger, I would, whatever prototype or archetype people would put on me, I would embody that, you know, to get whatever power I wanted to, but internally I would really be figuring out who I really am. So I can definitely identify with the safety that's in being inauthentic.
Right.
And then, you know, the choice that comes to take off that safety and be who you are and be that vulnerable person and be that, you know, that authentic person. It takes a lot of time and a lot of processing. Sure. Because if you let it out too early, it can be damaging. But if you never let it out at all, it can be damaging as well. So I think timing is very important. And I do agree that it can create a place of safety for somebody that's developing.
Good. And I love the point of it being timely, that time is really important. And it's a process to find self, to be okay with self, and then to reconcile self to the point where there aren't many different selves. You know, there's not a child self, there's not an adult self, there's not a worker self, there's not a personal self. All those are really one self that you can connect with at any given time. It's a lifelong process, I think. And so I think that's something for people to be mindful of too.
I think it's especially important for us as counselors. You know, as you start talking about that, I start thinking about Gestalt, you know, bringing the entire person, merging all of the selves and talking to that self. You know, and as you know, as I watched some of the tapes that Fritz Perls had done, you know, with Gloria,
yes, the Gloria
you know,
tapes.
it's a lot of resistance. A whole lot of resistance came. It's from that inauthentic self wanting to maintain that safety.
Sure.
You know, so I think for us as counselors, you know, the different methods that we do, I think that's very important that we, if not anybody else, strive to become more authentic and go through those processes of, you know, needing that safety, but eventually coming out of it because it's our responsibility to help others come to that same place. Definitely.
And notice how Gloria's inauthentic self really was at some level outside of her awareness. And so a big part for her was to become more aware in that moment of who she really was and make a choice about who she intentionally wanted to be with Dr. Perls. So that's a great point. And I think clients often will get into that kind of struggle in session, and it's part of our responsibility to help create that environment where they can do that kind of work.
One of somebody was talking to me earlier about, you know, is there a bell curve? You know, you're least authentic in early childhood and least authentic when you're about, you know, to leave this world. You know, old people can be very candid.
Right.
And, you know, it goes up to the height of your life and then goes down. And I think ideally, like if you, in any situation, ideally, you're going to at some level experience a level of inauthentic behavior. You're going to be inauthentic at some point because of how culture shapes you, how other inauthentic people shape you.
Right.
But I think as opposed to just the bell going up and then coming back down, it can go up and then at a continuum go down. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
To get you closer and closer back to that initial state that we never get to.
Definitely.
How we came in the world, learning how to deal with the ambiguities of the world. You know, and from this place of safety, we gradually go down until it's gone, and years might go by, but it gives us an opportunity to consistently contribute to other people's lives and bringing them out of inauthenticity.
I mean, it is that process, and I like that gradual slope because at some level, choosing who one is really about reconciling the ignorance one has about themselves. So, I mean, we really experience life and uncover who we are. We create self as we live life. And so to be more authentic really means to allow that creation and that formation of new awareness to be shared with other people. Yeah, that's great. Well, it's been a good conversation about being inauthentic, don't you think?
I think so.
Okay. And we still are biased in the whole thought of authenticity is best.
I am biased, but I can admit it enough to be able to appreciate other people's process. I also think that's very important, that because we all will experience inauthenticity in some point, it makes us empathetic to those that are either struggling with it or still in their safety process, so that we're not judgmental.
Definitely.
But we've reached another level of self-actualization to where we're able to help transition them.
No, it's really important because by recognizing where they are, we can have that empathy for them and not the judgment. And I think when we find people who are really stuck in an inauthentic self, it really tells us a lot about how much of themselves they need to reconcile with and how much of themselves they need to find acceptance with. And that could be something we can help them with as therapists.
I think so.
Great. So, would you like to take us out?
All right.
All righty.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Conversations on Authenticity. We have been on CSU TV. Tune in next time.